95% of tourists that come to Southeast Asia typically miss 99% of what is offered by these countries. And it's so lame why it happens. I'm pretty sure most of you that came out here to Southeast Asia saw exactly what you were expecting to see. Most tourists that I talk to that are just out here for the trips, they talk about the museums, going to the tunnels, seeing a bay, seeing a mountain, and going through the walking streets. That's literally what everyone talks about. Don't be that tourist. And the number one secret to avoid this and actually see a better part of Southeast Asia is to make a single friend out here. And when I say single, I'm not talking about a dating relationship, but an individual person that wants to be your friend because you're a great person. So today I want to talk to you about the benefits and how you can befriend a local so you can get out of these tourist traps and not get sucked in by these taxi drivers and all these other scams and agents and really see what the country has to offer. So the first question is quite obvious. Where do you even meet these local people? And you definitely don't want to meet somebody that's going to end the conversation or relationship with a happy ending or demand some kind of a tip. And to clear this up a little, making friends with agents, street vendors, massage staff, hotel workers, taxi drivers, they benefit you. They can show you a lot of the tourist stuff, but that relationship only really lasts as long as your wallet is open. And the worst part of that is a lot of these friends, all they're going to do is really introduce you to one of their friends that is just trying to sell you something. So we need to look for friends in quality places. And some of the best spots where I found to find local people, some examples are dating apps, language forums. And if you are in town, going to a local supermarket, a wet market, this is an amazing way to meet local people that are just living the normal life, and your interaction with them will be part of their normal life for them. Now, it is wise that you learn some of the language. If you're trying to meet a local person, you have to have that communication level. So learn some of the basics. Learn how to speak in a market situation, and it will benefit you on so many levels, including making new friends. And to save you guys a lot of time, forget about the reading, forget about the writing, forget about all the excess stuff. There's no reason to learn all the grammar and all that stuff because you're not going to be writing stuff down. Learn the basic sentences and phrases in the language and start using it. Get out there. Meet your friends back in your home country that speak that language. Practice with them. Use italki, whatever it takes, but learn those basics. This will be an enormous benefit when you try to meet a local. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One, if you speak their local dialect, if you speak Thai, Vietnamese, Cambodian, whatever it is, they're going to be more open to you. People in Asia love when you can speak their language. Places like Vietnam, places like Japan, they actually get quite excited when you start speaking their language. This is an amazing way to get your foot in the door for a good relationship. And another one is not so obvious, but if you're going up to, hypothetically, a Vietnamese person at a street market where most Western people don't go, this is all Vietnamese people, and you go up to them only speaking English, you are already been friend zoned in a bad way in their mind, as in they're like, they don't understand what you're saying. So one, they want to get away from you because they feel uncomfortable because they don't speak your language and you don't speak theirs. Two, if you're only speaking English, they're going to treat you like a tourist. It's never going to cross their mind that you could be a potential mate or you could be a good friend to them. They're just going to think you're a tourist. So learn the basics of their language. Spend it like a month on this. It will pay off in dividends. And you'll find out more why by the end of this video. And when you do meet these people, if you don't know what to say, because this can actually be quite a big roadblock for a lot of people, use the pickup game. You guys remember Neil Strauss in the game, pickup artist stuff. Use those same ideas. You're obviously not trying to pick them up, but use why questions. Ask them about them. Let them carry the conversation on. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. The more I introduce this idea to them and just ask them why, they get more excited and they want to talk more. So once you build that relationship, like you have a sincere, good relationship, you got your new friend Bob, let's call him Bob, and he likes you. He wants to call you and say, hey, let's go hang out, let's go grab beer, let's go watch a game, whatever it is. What do you do now? How do you start seeing these rare spots that most tourists don't see? Now, the first thing you don't want to do is say, hey, show me your hometown, take me to weddings, and take me where you go. I want what you do. You definitely don't want to do this because it's quite intrusive for one. And places like Vietnam and China, for example, they're more of invite cultures, meaning you don't really push yourself into the situation, you get invited into the situation. So you want to warm up. You want to go out, do stuff. Go shopping, man. Go hang out with this new friend, learn some stuff, teach them about your culture, they teach you about their culture. Start warming up to them because these invites, they actually come quite random. But at the end of the day, this friendship, you should treat it like any real friendship. This is just basic business 101. You need to give value to receive value. You don't want a friend where they just keep taking from you, and neither do they. So definitely be a valuable person to them. Don't just assume that you're just going to suck them dry. This video is not about how to use local people to get a better tourist spot. This is about making new friends and the byproduct of making those friends. So make this relationship something of value. So once you do make this friend, what are some things that you want to go after? Again, this isn't you going, take me here, take me there. You don't want to do that. You will sound evasive. You will sound crazy. You will sound a little spy-like. So don't do that. Things that I recommend to get yourself into are getting into weddings, going to small villages like the local people's hometowns, places like Vietnam. A lot of people live in Saigon, they live in Da Nang, they live in Hanoi, but they're not from there. So when it comes around Chinese New Year, they're going back home. This is why Saigon is a ghost town during Tet. But you also want to check out farming towns, fishing towns, places like south of Phan Thiet. Dalat is an awesome example. Can Tho is an awesome example. If you go up north, Lai Châu, Lao Cai, Sapa, these are all great examples of places that you want to go because a lot of tourists don't go to these spots. Minus Sapa, a lot of these places people don't go to. Don't go when there's a tourist, but go with your friend and start seeing how they are. Like one thing that surprised me was actually going to Buddhist temples in Thailand. That was like a shock to me. Like how, I always had this like mindset of how Buddhism, but when I got into a Thailand temple, it was a, I don't want to say a life-changing experience, but it was not what I expected. Same thing when I went to a church in Vietnam. It is nothing like the West at all. You don't have the preacher yelling. It's nothing like that. I'm going to leave the suspense and the questions to you to find out yourself, but it is definitely a different experience that for anybody that's religious is something you should try. And finally, check out local markets, wet markets, markets that are kind of hidden in alleys and corners that most Western people never see. These are where you find the good food. This is where you find some of the questionable food. But this is where you start really digging into the culture. And again, if you've learned the language, like I've told you to already, you're going to be able to interact with these people. You're going to be able to buy, sell, ask questions about these types of foods and these interactions. And this will build more relationships. Some of the coolest people I've ever met, no joke, have always been in wet markets. We talk. And they're like, you speak very well. You speak so good. Western people can't speak like this. You know, when you speak Thai or Vietnamese, dude, it blows their mind. Because Thai and Vietnamese think it's the hardest language in the world. It's really not. Ignore the reading, ignore the writing, just learn the actual communication, speaking part. And Vietnamese is probably one of the easier languages. I learned it, like relearned South Vietnamese in probably like 3 weeks. It's not that hard at all. You just learn the market stuff, get out there and talk it. And it impresses them. You build these relationships with them and they want to hang out with them. And just kind of a side extra hack here, you want to do a lot of stuff during holidays. We just talked about some of them. And for example, October in Hanoi, this is like national month or week for Hanoi people. So you're going to see a lot of like traditional like parties and favors and things that happen in Hanoi that typically don't happen. And these are very isolated to the community. You're not going to see a bunch of white, black, Hispanic people going to these parties. But if you have friends, you will be invited and you're going to experience a part of Vietnam a lot of people don't see. Same thing with Tet. You get to see a lot of parts of Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam during Tet because everyone goes home. Get on that train with them. This is one of my favorite things about my life in Vietnam was going to so many people's hometowns and seeing what it was like. Going to weddings in places like Dalat or Can Tho or going to Lao Cai and actually experience life as like a Chinese resident living there that had to cross the border every day. Like these are experiences I got to have because I learned the language. And I went as far as learning Hmong a little bit. So when I was living in Sapa, I was able to hang out with Hmong people. This is something Western people don't do. So learn the language and interact. And this gives you the real culture. So no more vendors, no more tourist traps, No more scams from taxi drivers. You're literally within the community and the culture at this point. This is what you want to see. This is what makes Asia such an amazing place, are these simple hacks. Learn the language, make some friends, and start living the life they live. And some extra hacks to get you ahead as well is learn about the culture, learn about traditions, learn about how holidays are regulated, how people do things. If you're back home in your foreign country, there's a lot of online groups like meetup.com, I believe. You can find like a Vietnam meetup group in your city if you live in America or Canada. Join them, ask questions, enjoy Tet with them or different holidays. Go to a Vietnamese wedding in America. It's not the same as Saigon, Vietnam per se, but it is quite similar, and you can learn these things. Learn their traditions, because when you start doing what the local people do, they actually find more respect in you, and now you not only have your original friend, you have a family of friends. So learn some of the traditions as well. Vietnamese love their country. Thai people love their country. So talk about the good, but you have to take some time to learn about this stuff. Now, one last thing before I get out of here. Communication, that's a big part of it. Let me give you a breakdown of some of the most common apps, like online chatting apps that you want to have when you do come out to these countries, so you are prepared. So when it comes to the different countries, we can safely say WhatsApp is good for all of them. Even if you don't use Facebook, which I don't either, I just use the chat app itself, have WhatsApp. Now, when it comes to places like Cambodia, that's all you need. When it comes to Laos and Thailand, Line, Line, is an app that is commonly used within the people themselves outside of the tourist areas. And then when you get to Vietnam, you're going to have Zalo and Viber. Zalo and Viber are integrated apps. Zalo pretty much runs your bank account, your shipping, your addresses, everything account. Viber is more of a professional government business level chat app that people use. It's not common for the tourists and local people. This is more of like a business governmental app that's used. But it is used. I wouldn't worry about that one. Just get Zalo, you'll be okay. And then places like Malaysia, Indonesia, and then around China, again, just have WhatsApp. China is it's WeChat, which is fine, but really you don't need to download it until you get to China, because you have to set it up with a SIM card. And when you do meet foreigners, they're gonna have WhatsApp. So that's another plus too. So there you have it. The secret to unlock 99.99% of the problem that most tourist people run into, and not actually experiencing the country you're visiting, not seeing the stuff that the locals see, not seeing the inner beauty of these countries. And I have to think of my life living in Southeast Asia and living 10 of those years in Vietnam. I've been to over 20 weddings. I've been to like 10 or 15 government events, like massive ones. I've been to like 3 or 4 TV events where I was like behind the scenes kind of a thing. None of this would have ever happened if I didn't understand the language, I didn't understand the culture, and I didn't put myself out there. So learn the language, learn the basic market stuff, and build up from there. Learn some of the culture, the traditions. I recommend government, religious, and wedding traditions. Learn the basics for all the countries you plan on going to. This will get you a long way real fast. So that does it for today, guys. We have covered what you need to do to actually integrate yourself into the culture and befriend a local. If you have any other questions, definitely leave them below. If you like this type of content, you want to support the channel, you want to get a lot more insight and private videos from me directly, join the members group below. Any tier gets you the basic stuff in there for private videos and chatting with me directly. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching. I will see you again.